trick, George Deveris told me, was to keep changing your permanent address with the draft board. It took at least 6 months for them to catch up. George had been doing this for 3 years, which explained why George fainted right in the middle of a scene on stage at the Salisbury Playhouse in Pennsylvania, leaving me playing the scabby cab driver holding 4 suitcases and a bird cage in the play Under the Yum Yum Tree, staring first at George, out cold on the stage couch, then the audience, then George. But half the audience was already out of their seats heading for the exits. It was the Cuban Missile Crisis, 1962. Red alert for all military, and an MP armed and serious backstage with the stage manager, who had to interrupt our play with an announcement for all military to report to base. And George, sprawled on the stage couch, eyes rolled white in his head. Since I worked summer stock, regional theater, supper clubs, moving was a part of my life, and George's advice sounded reasonable. But looking back, did I think I could just keep doing this until the Vietnam War magically ended? Would they forget me? Just quit? It seemed that a lot of attention and effort was being expended to find one itinerant draft-age actor in order to assign him to the jungles of Vietnam. I had dreams of the man who would kill me, and I wasn't in Vietnam. I was in boot camp. He was a drill sergeant, his round red face, razor-burned, smooth, short-cropped blonde hair, leaning over me and screaming spittle spray. And this was the face that would kill me. He visited me in my dreams almost every night. I even knew the place. It was a swampy field in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. My next job was in Baltimore at the center stage. About 9 o'clock on the one night the theater was dark each week, they knocked on my apartment, the door with B4 on it, even though the apartment was B42. The number 2 had always been missing. The rent was cheap because the building had a notice for demolition on the front. But I'd been there for over 6 months. The demo sign limited the type of tenants, mostly the odd mix of the cheap, elderly, the marginal, and those way beyond the margins who slinked in and out after dark. The 3 guys at the door could have been actors playing FBI agents. Black suits and thin ties, white shirts, dark overcoats, and shiny shoes, each holding out their FBI IDs. And a notice for me to appear for my draft physical December 30th, Whitehall Street, New York City. The 3 left politely and left me to consider my future. In December, at the Whitehall Street Draft Center, lower tip of Manhattan, the future was as frigid as the weather any place south of the 29th parallel. On the medical information card, I checked all boxes yes, including 3 or 4 things I couldn't pronounce. I had kidney disease, wet the bed, father had heart trouble, I was a homosexual and fixated on Christ. I wouldn't give blood because I'd pass out, nor take off my coat because I got chilblains. 7 of us were on the street in 4 hours, military service satisfied. Amazed, stunned, teeth chattering from either the cold or salvation, thankful we didn't have to somehow get to Canada or Costa Rica, trying to put together enough change to buy a beer in the bar across the street. This was early in the war, before they figured out that 70% of well-to-do white guys couldn't all be gay. It was recorded that I was unable to take command, homosexual, and couldn't teach overseas for the State Department. I went back to the theater in Baltimore to finish the season, then moved from the soon-to-be-demolished building into the basement of Harry and Lou Uram's Boar's Head Coffee House. It was warm, clean, and I showered crouching on top of an old oyster shucking table. Now, hookups were a problem. In the middle of things, especially with Nancy, slow-eyed Nancy with the amazing tits, who always had to bring her nephew, set up in his playpen, holding onto the bars, big brown eyes watching us as I struggled with the threat that at any time those 3 FBI guys, who seemed to be able to find me anywhere, would bust in holding their IDs, pointing their fingers, and 6 weeks later, my ass would be in a rice paddy in Vietnam. Think of performance. Now, I avoid the guys at the median strips, the Vietnam vets with their signs, not the ones too young, jackets from the Army surplus store, but the real ones, guys of the right age. It's not guilt, more like confusion about survival at any cost. That guy in my dreams really would have killed me, and there is a part of me unable to take command. Each year, there's fewer of us from that war. We're growing older, dropping off, dead, got our shit together, or locked up in some state facility. We're being replaced by vets from other wars. Besides, I'm going to need all of those dollars soon myself. History is kinder to me now for dodging the draft. The reasons for being in Southeast Asia have become questionable. It was all stupid, like most wars. But those who went into the jungle and came out, and those etched on that wall in Washington, those of us in Canada and Baltimore, were just trying to do the best with what we had. Time will eventually blend and bloody all of us. Thank you.